Death is unavoidable. When Gandalf falls, it's not just a wizard dying. It's the guarantee that dies. The wise one, the protector, the guy who had the plan. And if you watch The Fellowship right after that scene, you see it immediately. They're shattered, they're in shock, nobody knows what to do. The structure of the group is gone. Psychologically, that's what you mean by death in individuation. Not physical death, but the moment when the old inner structure collapses. The Gandalf in you, the part that always had an answer and control, falls into the abyss. This isn't I'm a bit down or I'm stressed. This is the point where your old way of living and understanding yourself simply cannot continue. And here's the important part. You cannot save Gandalf in this scene. That's the whole point. Death on this level is when the part of you that always tried to fix and manage everything is the part that has to die. Now, let's talk about the cross. From a Jungian perspective, Christ is a symbol of the self, the deeper organizing center of the psyche, beyond the ego, and the crucifixion is the moment where the ego can't keep control anymore. If you read the story psychologically instead of dogmatically, it's not mainly about punishment or guilt. It's about surrender. Not my will, but thy will. That is the ego letting go of being the absolute ruler. The image of God dying on a cross is extreme on purpose. It's saying the highest thing you can imagine has to pass through abandonment, humiliation, and complete powerlessness before transformation is possible. In alchemy, Jung's talk about the nigredo, the black stage, where everything rots, breaks down, and loses its former form. The crucifixion is a symbolic nigredo, the death of a whole way of being so that something new can emerge. It is truly being yourself, no matter the cost. But death doesn't always arrive in some mystical or religious form. Sometimes it shows up as something very human and very ordinary. Heartbreak. If you've ever had a breakup that completely wrecked you, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't just hurt. It feels like you are dying. From a Jungian angle, that's not just because love hurts. It's because we project huge parts of ourselves onto the person we love. And in a very real sense, that part dies in this heartbreak because you are projecting an outside version of yourself, and we don't just lose a partner. We lose that image of the anima, the projection of the anima, and you lose a huge part of your own identity. It really is symbolically, but really like dying. If I can't be that version of myself, if that story is gone, then who am I now? A version of yourself is disintegrated. And staying positive doesn't work at all because something much deeper is happening. And that takes us to Neo. When Neo dies in the Matrix, if you look at it symbolically instead of just sci-fi, the pattern is the same as Gandalf and the crucifixion. First, he does everything he can with his old level of belief. He runs, he fights, he tries, but there's a ceiling he literally can't break through until he literally dies. And only after that psychic death does something else wake up in him. Something that isn't just Thomas Anderson trying harder, but a completely different level of being. Because death in individuation is not the end. It's the necessary breakdown before a new order can appear. For there to be room for new, something old has to die. The Gandalf in you has to fall. The God image you grew up with has to crack. And the version of you that was built around a relationship has to collapse. The old self, like Neo, has to die. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens after that. The rebirth.